has been resourcefulness. This is part of King's mission statement, that we hope to produce graduates who are thoughtful, resourceful, and responsible with a passion for serving God, the church, and the world. Resourcefulness is kind of a strange term. When I was trying to think about how to construct the series this fall, I pondered what exactly that might mean at length. And one of the things that became clear to me is that a great resource is available to us in the grace of God. And nobody that I have read in recent memory expresses that better than David Zahl. I'm so happy that David is with us this morning. He comes to us from Charlottesville, where he is on the staff of Christ Church Episcopal Church, where he also directs Mockingbird Ministries. And Mockingbird has a great online presence. They have podcasts, they have short articles, they have all kinds of things available. He's also written a number of books, and it was reading the second to most recent of these, Low Anthropology, that convinced me that David was a good fit for the King Institute, and that I really wanted to bring him here because it was personally exceptionally valuable to me. It's one of those books you read and you think, these are the things that have been swirling in my head, and now they've been put together into one coherent piece. And so I am very pleased that he's with us to guide us through the way that grace becomes for us a great resource for the challenges of the world that we live in. I also want to mention that we continue next week. We are again on every Monday this fall, and next Monday we have a panel of administrators, people who work for King, but you don't often see. Our president, our provost, our CFO, and our athletic director will all be up here next week to talk about calling, how they find themselves called to King University, and also a little bit about what they do, and then finally a little bit about what King is all about. And so that'll be next Monday here. David is going to speak twice today. He will be here this morning and again this evening at 7 p.m. at First Presbyterian Church, and we have a reception before that at 6 at First Pres. You're very welcome to join us for that. Immediately after this morning, if you want some time to talk to David and have a nice cup of coffee, we're going to go over to the Tadlock House. And for any visitors, just find me afterwards, and I'll show you where that is. We'll be in Tadlock, and then we're going to be at lunch, and especially faculty and staff, if you're interested in joining us for lunch, it'll be around 11:15 in the Tipton room in the cafeteria. So please join me in welcoming David Zahl.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. Thank you for that very kind introduction. I'm here from Charlottesville. I've driven here from about 3.5 hours. And before I left, right before we left, I asked my wife for a water bottle because, you don't go anywhere these days without a water bottle. So she handed me this contraption. And it took me like 6-7 minutes to figure out how to, this was the way to open it, right? This is an Owala, right? Am I saying that correctly? And as I was fumbling with it and looking like a complete moron on I-81, I was thinking about an article that the New York Times published in March about Gen Z trends. It was called Too Many Trends, and they interviewed a bunch of people in their 20s saying that it's impossible to keep up with the fire hose of trends that are being directed at you on social media. The writer wrote, Callie Ackerman wrote, "For the past few years, opening up social media has felt like standing in front of a fire hose of fashion and internet fads, cranking open the nozzle full blast. The new IT water bottles are anointed almost quarterly." One 19-year-old was saying, "The prevalence and pure amount of micro-trends has made it impossible to understand or participate. When I was in college, Nalgene's were the water bottle of choice. You'll note that these are quicker and quicker turnarounds. The Camelback, the Swell, the Hydro Flask, the Yeti, the Simple Modder, the Standard, and now we come to the Owala. Who knows what's coming next, you guys? I'm on the seat of the seat of my chair. This is a quickening of water bottle trends, but it's not just water bottle trends. The volume and speed of trends, we're being told, is just dialing up, continually dialing up. There's an acceleration at work. And that's what I want to talk about this morning briefly, acceleration. Water bottles are really the tip of the iceberg. The theologian Andy Root, one of a great theologian these days, he's paraphrasing a German sociologist named Hartmut Rosa, who says that what defines modernity, what defines the world in which we live, is acceleration, which is the constant process of speeding things up. We experience this acceleration in too many spheres to count. I know many of you are athletes. I'm raising kids in the world of sort of travel sports. When what used to be 8 years old was the entrance to travel sports, now it's 6 years old. What will it be when you're raising children? I don't know. Technology continually makes communication faster. Letters become phone calls, which become emails, which become texts, which become real-time Slack messages, and so on. Everything's speeding up. Maybe you have a drawer at your house full of old cords you think you're going to use again someday. I have news for you. You're never using those cords ever again. You can throw them out. The Apple will figure out a way to get you to buy new cords. All right? That's their whole business model. There's a writer, this creates a pressure on us. Every year we have to run a bit faster to keep what we have. There's a cultural commentator who called this dopamine culture, Ted Gioia. Somehow in the past decade, he observed, attention that was trained on television shows shifted to video clips and then shifted to reels. In music, consumers and artists largely abandoned albums as their preferred medium, and then they pursued more commercial possibilities of tracks and then finally hooks. The only person left standing who cares about albums anymore is who? You can say her name out loud. She released an album last week. Taylor Swift cares about the album, and that's like a dinosaur type thing, but we all wait for her to release an album on us. But you know, images on a gallery wall to views on phones to scrolling on a phone. Relationships, courtship, marriage, to sexual freedom, to swiping on an app. Everything's getting faster and faster and faster. This applies to the economy too, doesn't it? Markets rise and fall, but prices never really drop. In fact, to be a person in their mid-40s like me, you begin to entertain paying prices for used cars that you never thought possible. And you're told that it's finally going to go back down, but it never seems to. Then there's the job market. I worked for 12 years with undergraduates at the University of Virginia in Charlottesville. And when I got there in 2010, I was surprised to see how many of them applied for post-college jobs during the fall of their junior year. When I had been in college a decade before, we did that the fall of our senior year. By 2016, it had shifted, and that same application process now took place during the spring of sophomore year. And by the time I bowed out in 2023, it was happening oftentimes freshman year. Acceleration, acceleration, acceleration. We had a fellows program at our church where we tried to get undergraduates to take a year off to sort of do a year of service and give back and serve their peers. And it became harder and harder to get people interested in it. Why? Because they didn't want to fall behind. They were afraid of getting off the fast track. The pace of social change, that's accelerated too, hasn't it? I remember reading in 2018 an interview with Steve Carell about The Office, and he suggested that it couldn't be made anymore because the humor was outdated. The show had gone off the air in 2013, 5 years ahead of time. But he saw the cultural sensitivities had evolved so quickly he thought the humor would no longer fly. I could keep going. I could keep going, but the overall picture I'm trying to paint of life, of your life as well as mine, is of a treadmill in which the dial keeps moving forward. We all feel it. The fast track keeps getting faster, and the pressure to keep up that much heavier. Here's a clip that sort of illustrates what I'm... There you go. This is from Portlandia.
Oh, Maggie's running late.
Okay. Hey, did you guys read that thing in the New Yorker last month about how golf is an analogy for marriage?
I did. I did read that. Did you read the thing at McSweeney's? It was comparing CD tracks and album tracks. Did you read that?
Yeah. Did you read that thing in Mother Jones about eco chairs and eco ways to sit?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Did you read that thing in Spain about all the festivals?
Did you read that thing in Pace? It was about the National?
Oh, I saw that. Did you read that thing in Dwell about all the mid-century houses?
Yeah. Did you read the New York Times?
Yes.
New York Observer?
Yes.
Washington Post?
Yes.
Wall Street Journal?
Of course I read it.
Did you read that steampunk article in Boing Boing?
I did not like the end of it.
Did you read that skywriting over the Willamette River?
Yes. Did you read that fortune cookie?
Yes.
From last night?
Yes.
Did you read it?
Yes.
There were two.
Yes. Did you read that thing that guy wrote in the sand on the beach?
Yeah.
Did you read the Portland Mercury?
Yeah.
Did you read the Willamette Week?
Yeah.
Did you read the Seattle Stranger?
Beginning to end.
Did you read the SF Weekly?
I loved it.
The Harvard Lampoon?
Well written.
Did you read Mad Magazine?
I did not like the end of it.
Did you read Kathy?
That was cute.
Did you read Family Circus?
Sure.
Did you read Calvin and Hobbes?
Sure.
Did you read the Boston Globe?
Sure.
Did you read the Washington Blade?
We read it together.
Did you read?
Uh-huh.
Did you read? Did you read?
Of course I did.
Did you read?
I read it to a friend of mine. Did you read the closing credits of that movie?
Yeah, did you read that book?
Did you read
Jack?
it?
Did you read the Bible?
Did you read it? Did you read it?
Did you read it? Finger writing on the window?
You did? Because I did. I did. Did you know?
Hey, Maggie.
Hey, Maggie.
Did you guys read the new Portland Monthly? It's crazy.
Hey, says don't walk. Can't you read?
You get it? The fruit of all this acceleration leads nowhere good. It makes people feel insane. It makes them do crazy things. It makes them stop reading. I would suggest that the fruit of acceleration in our lives spiritually is three things: anxiety, alienation, and fatigue. What do I mean? Well, as the pace of life ratchets up, so too does our anxiety. It can't not. The more we try to accomplish in less time, the more it feels like we're losing control over our own life and over the life of the world. The train can go off the tracks at any moment when you're moving this fast, and that's a fear-inducing prospect. Reflection, taking a beat, taking the time to think about what's going on in your life, it begins to feel like a luxury that you cannot afford while you're barreling from one thing to the next. It's not a recipe for spiritual well-being. Serenity is never frenzied. So acceleration exacerbates this pressure to keep up, which feels harder and harder and harder. And it's not just keeping up with the Joneses. We have to keep up with our inboxes. We have to keep up with our bills, keep up with our bodies, with our friendships, with our commitments. And thus we anxiously run around trying in vain to stay on top of things and feeling all the while that everyone else is ahead of us. It's not just college students, though. Everyone I know is afraid of being left behind. Dads in the suburbs are afraid of this. So are moms in the city. So are young people, so are old people, so are conservative people, so are liberal people. We equate being left behind with being discarded, less than yesterday's news. To keep up is to remain in the game, vital and valued and alive. Being left behind represents a negative verdict that we scurry like mad to avoid. So, anxiety, that's the first fruit of acceleration. The second one, though, is alienation. You see, you cannot actually be connected to your surroundings, certainly not the people in them, if you do not have time to invest. Acceleration pinches our available minutes, and are often the first activities to get the axe in our lives are those that don't bring an immediate or measurable return. An ROI is how we talk about it today. I have lived in a neighborhood for years when my kids were little where we'd have these Halloween and 4th of July parades, and they were great. Everyone loved them. It was a benefit of living in the neighborhood. And yet, when the family that was organizing them sort of aged out, they asked all of the younger families who would be up to it. No one put up their hand. Because not that we all loved it, we were benefiting from it, but you could not fathom electing to put another thing on your plate, even though you knew that was what you needed. You didn't have time to give back to your community. The truth is, we feel connected to a community to the extent we're able to both receive from and give to it. But acceleration squashes the amount of energy we're able to offer our university, our church, our schools, our wrestling team. And the result is that even if we stay involved, we're mainly there as consumers, not contributors. But the third fallout of this acceleration is exhaustion. And as with anxiety, you don't have to look too far for the evidence. Adolescents, I have 2 of them in my home. They're not getting enough sleep. College students, at least in Charlottesville, they're wiped out. Teachers are barely standing. Your mailman is snowed under. Every professor I know, every clergyman I know needs a sabbatical. The high schoolers I know decry the overwhelm. We're all tired. The only question is what we're tired from. In fact, we're even tired of the word tired and burned out on the word burnout. We talk instead about fatigue, whether that be compassion fatigue, political fatigue, Zoom fatigue, crisis fatigue, inflation fatigue, volunteer fatigue, yes, Taylor Swift fatigue. Acceleration, the picture I'm trying to paint, and aren't you so glad you came this morning, is of a situation in which our resources, we talk about resourcefulness, our resources are being drained, not just our financial resources, telling us to buy new water bottles, but also our relational, our spiritual resources are being drained, our time. Of course, I'm a religious person. I'm a Christian, but I notice that religion is not immune to acceleration. Churches often fall prey to the assumption that growth, personal, communal, institutional, is the end-all, be-all of what happens on Sunday mornings. More. We need more people doing more programs at our church. At its best, however, the church is meant to resist acceleration. The very notion of a weekly Sabbath breaks the 24/7 cycle of more, and reminds us that we are God's treasured children, not slaves to the ever-mounting demands of the pharaohs in our lives. Once we walk through its doors, and I don't know if I like this church, but you walk through the doors of my church at home, and it feels out of time. It feels like the carpet itself is ancient, right? But that's the appeal. You don't necessarily want to be in a church that feels like it's running a race to keep up with people. The church often feels out of times, its core rituals unchanged for hundreds of years. Services are not necessarily fast-paced. It's certainly in the liturgical tradition I grew up in. They sometimes seem intentionally, even aggressively boring. That drove me crazy when I was a kid, but I crave it as an adult, and guess what? You probably will find yourself craving it too. I don't mean that I crave pastors being boring and droning on and on and on in monotone like a Monty Python skit. I mean the pauses in the service, the comfortable silences, the way that the overall rhythm of a church service does not mimic the manicness of TikTok and YouTube, and instead allows a person space to breathe. The slowness itself is a relief. We are given a different sort of resource at church, which is the resource of rest. Jesus himself rested constantly. When a storm raged on the Sea of Galilee and his disciples started to panic, they found their Lord napping in the front of the boat. He was a varsity-level napper, okay? Well, that's one thing I learned in college, was how to do a 22-minute nap at a key moment. Hopefully not during chapel service, but, if you need to, I understand. He was irritated when his disciples woke him up when that happened, but he proceeded to calm the storm that was surrounding them despite their frantic faithlessness. But he also never succumbed to hurry, sometimes to the detriment of those in need of healing. Very early in Mark's gospel, before Jesus has a chance to do much of anything, he withdraws to a deserted place to pray. He takes a deliberate pause from healing the sick and casting out demons. This is what we read. In the morning, while it was still very dark, Jesus got up and went out to a deserted place, and there he prayed. And Simon and his companions hunted for him. When they found him, they said to him, "Everyone is searching for you." He answered, "Let us go on to the neighboring towns so that I may proclaim the message there also, for that is what I came to do." So the pattern of the spiritual life, at least if we take Christ as our model, is not one of nonstop engagement. It involves regular retreat. It is not accelerating. The disciples don't follow this pattern, you should note. Worry prompts them to seek out their teacher the moment he goes missing. And so they interrupt his prayers. They get in the way of his time with God. "Everyone is searching for you," they say to him with unintended irony. Yet Jesus does not meet them, you'll note, with a rebuke or with a rejection. He does not mirror their anxiety, nor does he give them a lecture about deceleration and slowing down. No doubt he knew that shouting at people to slow down will not work any better than shouting at them to stop being sick. Instead, he responds with kindness and renewed focus. He will not be distracted from preaching the gospel. That's where his energy lies, in spreading the good news that God has interrupted and will continue to interrupt the panicked pattern of our lives. And what God interrupts our toing and froing with is not a new form of spiritual grind, but with the bottomless resource of grace. Grace is what I like to call the big relief at the heart of Christianity. You might have, I don't know what your definition of grace is, but mine, I'll give you a few. Grace is a gift with no strings attached. It's unmerited favor, unwarranted generosity, sacrificial love that seeks a person out at their most lovable. Frederick Buechner, the writer that sort of actually inaugurated this very series at King, he's got a wonderful definition of grace. Maybe you've heard it. He said this: "A crucial eccentricity of the Christian faith is the assertion that people are saved by grace. There's nothing you have to do. There's nothing you have to do. There's nothing you have to do. The grace of God means something like, here is your life. You might never have been, but you are, because the party wouldn't have been complete without you. Here is the world. Beautiful and terrible things will happen. Don't be afraid. I am with you. Nothing can ever separate us. It's for you I created the universe. I love you." Now, there are a number of ways to explain how this grace extends to weary souls caught in the trap of acceleration, but I'll give you one this morning, then I'm finished. And the word I want you to take away is assurance. Jesus, God, meets our acceleration, our panicked acceleration, with blessed assurance. What is assurance? Assurance is the confidence that God's favor applies to you personally. And this blessed assurance, capital B, capital A, it flows from the claim that your identity, your future, your forgiveness is tethered not to anything you do or don't do, but to the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. You are not responsible for establishing your value by trying to keep up with whatever thing you're trying to keep up with. You are relieved of that burden. You can breathe this cosmic exhale. My church tradition foregrounds this assurance when we baptize babies, which ends with the pronouncement that the baby is, quote, sealed in baptism and marked by the Holy Spirit as Christ's own forever, which is fancy religious words for guaranteed. This unshakable guarantee of God's love, presence, and power frees the Christian from anxiously worrying about the state of his or her soul. Jesus in John puts it this way: all those the Father gives me will come to me, and whoever comes to me I will never drive away. This blessed assurance of God's grace announces that the high wire game of proving ourselves, of keeping up, is finished. In the most meaningful sense, it is done. The lingering threat of judgment has been removed. There is a finality that a person can lean on. In gut level terms, what this means, and I think this is good news, it means is to be a Christian, you approach life from assurance, not for assurance. The key question of your life is one of freedom. The question is, what would you do? What risk would you take if you weren't afraid? If you weren't afraid of losing something you have or missing out on some opportunity? What would you do if you truly believed that your value, your identity, your standing before God was secure, that the ultimate threat of judgment was removed and you didn't have to do anything? These are scary questions. We would much rather punt to the prescribed path in front of us. But I suspect the answer to these questions will have something to do with exercising the unique gifts that God has given each one of you. You may even find yourself free to think about other people for once and their well-being rather than always anxiously safeguarding your own. So what have I tried to say? I've tried to say that in an accelerating world, demand never ceases. Resources run dry. There's always one more email to return, one more practice to attend, one more update to your phone's firmware, one more Zoom to dial into, one more application to turn in, one more bill to pay, one more dish to wash, one more apology to make, one more thing until we reach enough. Well, acceleration ensures that whatever threshold we're chasing only gets further and further away. It makes me think of the letter to the Hebrews, in which the writer speaks of priests in the temple offering again and again the same sacrifices that can never take away sins. These priests trying to appease God with their efforts, with their religious acts. Each fresh sacrifice, though, yields to the next. One more, then one more, then one more. But the writer then says something remarkable. But when Christ had offered for all time a single sacrifice for sins, he sat down at the right hand of God. He sat down. Done. No more appeasement necessary. When it comes to God, nothing that needs to be done has not been done. This is one of the great New Yorker cartoons of the last 4 years. It's of a lady who is high on canceled plans. Do you ever excited when plans get canceled? You get credit for having made the plans in the first place, but you don't have to actually go. It's a great feeling. What if I told you the Christian life was actually this? You might sit there for a little while, yes. But odds are after you've finally caught your breath, you might get up, look around, and see what gifts you've been given, how you might contribute to. My friends, God is not an accelerant, but God is the ultimate resource for those who've run out of gas. You may be full of gas right now. That came out wrong. But there will come a time when the engine starts knocking. If you remember nothing else, remember that there is an endless resource known as the grace of God. Remember when the soldiers come to arrest Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, he refuses to run. And then when Pilate interrogates him the next day, Jesus does not ramp up the noise, he remains silent, opting to bear the full brunt of Rome's cold-hearted efficiency. Even his resurrection from the dead isn't hurried. His body lies lifeless in the tomb for 3 days. And when he rises from the grave, instead of rushing to the ascension, he lingers. The disciples who scattered when he was crucified and were left behind don't have to run to catch up to him. Instead, Jesus catches up to them, cooking breakfast over charcoal as the fishing boats slowly dock in Galilee. Jesus meets those disciples where they are, which is the same way he meets you. Not at the end of the race, but on the side of the track when you've fallen down. And he comes to them the same way he comes to you, resourcing you with what you need, which is thankfully not a new or another bottle of water, but the water of life itself. Thanks for listening.
Remind you again, if you're interested in spending some time with David, we'll be in the Tadlock House. After this, we'll be at lunch around 11:15, and he'll be again at First Presbyterian Church at 7 tonight. Thank you for being with us this morning. Go and do good.